Namaste and welcome to a Monday night live with Harry Bowman from his office, from his home office. So let's just give you guys a few minutes to come online before I start this live stream. And in fact, I'm doing this live stream from home because I haven't been on the bicycle, and this would normally be a live stream that I would do on a Saturday or a Sunday morning when I'm riding the bicycle. So people are just starting to come online now. Thank you, Anadi and Emily and Lindy, for coming online. And as you come online, I'll just wait for a few more of you to come online and then see if I can say the word "come online" one more time. And Sim, thank you for joining. Okay, slowly the numbers are starting to go up. So, and Shy, thank you for joining. You did say you'd try and get your work done, so that you could watch this. So I'm pleased that you did. That's really good. Okay, so we're getting a few people coming online. So yeah, if you missed what I was saying there, I'm doing this from home because normally these sort of live streams that I usually do as a bicycle live stream, which and Ree, hey Ree, how are you? So good to catch up with you on Saturday. It was such a great day, and thank you for watching. And Kathy and Sandra, yeah. So because I haven't been riding the bicycle, I've had a few different things I wanted to talk about, and this one came up. So let's I've titled this "You're Not Asocial." I originally titled it "You're Not Antisocial," but thank you to Shy for correcting me on that. You're not asocial. And in brackets, I put socially anxious. You're just highly sensitive. And I've also put you're in good company because there's a lot of us around. Now, the reason why I've chosen this topic, why it's relevant at this point in time, Shai says, hurried my work tonight to watch. Thanks, Harry. Your content is always valuable. This topic got my attention. Well, that's good. The reason why it's relevant is because I was a little thing popped up on an ex-girlfriend's page a couple of days ago. And you know, she's quite a beautiful, sensitive soul, and this popped up, and her post actually said, "I'm not antisocial. I'm highly sensitive." And I thought, yes, that's really spot on, you know. And Gay says, "Thank you, Harry," and Christy, thank you for joining, and Janine and Jenny and Irochka and Nigel. There's a few of you there. That's great. It's nice to have your company. So that came up, and it started me thinking a little bit about HSPs, highly sensitive people, which was a terminology that I came across, I think in the 1980s, actually, way before the internet. I came across HSPs, and I remember when I discovered it, it answered a lot of questions of the way that I am as a person, as my sensitivity. And what I've noticed since then, especially being you know, online quite a lot, especially on social media, what I've noticed is that this sensitivity, this sort of extra sensitivity that HSPs have, seems to be prevalent in the vegan community. I've seen a lot of posts where people are either aware that they have this situation, or I'm reading between the lines in the things that they're saying, and I'm realizing that they are actually HSPs because of the way that they're struggling with certain things and because of the way that they're expressing them. So, and Ali, thank you for watching, and Renee and Christine, thank you. So I think it's a very relevant topic to bring up when it comes to us as vegans. I mean, this is not just a vegan specific discussion, but I think there is a lot of vegans that do experience this high level of sensitivity, and especially in our connection with animals, and there is a reason for that actually ties into one of the traits of a highly sensitive person, is the way that they relate to animals, and it's a sign that you're a HSP. So so what I want to do is actually mention that there is about, according to the statistics, there's between 5 to 20% of the population are highly sensitive people. And I certainly, when I first came across it back in the 80s, I certainly considered myself a HSP. Since then, I also consider myself to be an empath, but I would more strongly resonate with the terminology of a HSP. I'd also like to say that a lot of the time, I'm not a great believer in putting labels on things. I do it a lot. I know I do it a lot. I label situations and I use descriptions of different things, but it can be restrictive to label things. So keep that in mind. And there's a few other people that join there as well. Thank you very much. So here's a couple of things just to sort of get you thinking about whether you yourself are a HSP, because really I want to get your feedback. Because last year I did a live stream where I discussed sort of the topic of HSPs, but I did call it that in the live stream. So this more tonight, I want to actually get feedback and see if my theory that vegans tend to be highly sensitive is correct, because it would make a lot of sense to me that that is the case. So let me ask you some questions, because this comes up. Are you easily overwhelmed by such things as bright lights, strong smells, coarse fabrics? Now there's an interesting one. Or sirens nearby. So in other words, do you react strongly to those sort of things? Do you get rattled? Do you get sort of frustrated and tensed up when you have a lot to do in a short amount of time? If these questions are starting to resonate with you, just give me some feedback. I've got a few more that another half a dozen I'll read you there. Do you make a point of avoiding violent movies and TV shows? That's one that really clicked for me. You know, it was like, certainly I get rattled when I have a lot to do in a short amount of time. I actually find myself stressing out. I've made a point since I was a kid to avoid violent TV movies and TV shows. So, you know, that's something that resonates strongly with me. Here's another question for you. Do you need to withdraw during busy days? Into bed or into a darkened room or some other place where you can have privacy and relief from the situation? Again, something personally that, you know, I have a nap most days, because that is a resetting and an ability to go back out and face the world again. So you probably, I'm imagining yes, Kathy's saying this is me already. Yes, and I'm imagining a few people watching tonight are going to be saying this is exactly how I feel too. There's a couple more things I want to ask you. Do you make it a high priority to arrange your life to avoid upsetting or overwhelming situations? I'm laughing because, man, I'm a master of avoiding upsetting or overwhelming situations. Erotica says yes. Emily says yep. So see, we're on the same page here, guys. This is why I said you're in good company, because there's a lot of us around. A few more things to think about here. Do you notice or enjoy delicate or fine scents, tastes, sounds, or works of art? So in other words, do you find yourself quite emotionally affected by us? You might smell something on the breeze and there's a very strong emotional you know, connection for you with that smell, or there might be some music that just, you know, just moves you, just brings you to tears, you know, and each time you hear it, it has the same emotional effect. You'll know what I'm talking about. You know, we're on the same page here. Jenny Blue says, interesting concept. I had always thought I was just antisocial. And you're saying yes, yes, yes to all these questions. Well, it's interesting because I'm going to talk about the antisocial component of it and how there is a, I'm just got to do up my thing here, how there is a, what's the word? A misunderstanding sometimes of what it is, whether we're antisocial, whether we're socially anxious, or whether we're highly sensitive. And it's very hard sometimes to, let's step away from saying that we're antisocial, because antisocial by definition actually has some negative connotations. Let's go for the positive connotation of being highly sensitive, and also that can translate into being socially anxious or having other anxieties. Orochka says yes to the questions I'm asking. Jenny says smells and music, exquisite scenery. Oh, yes. I know. Exquisite scenery, beautifully said. I just love the descriptive. Exquisite scenery. Yeah. You know, I get up early in the morning so I can just go and just absorb the dawn and absorb, you know, somewhere that I find is beautiful to my senses, you know, because again, this is a highly sensitive trait. Christy says you were describing two of my kids. That's interesting, Christy. Jenny says Blackbird song will always get me choked up. Yeah, it's isn't it amazing? It's a couple more things here. That do you have a rich and complex inner life? In other words, you know, up here. There's lots of fantasies in your head. There's lots of you know, just beautiful dreams. You know, it's like for as long as I can remember, I've had the most amazing dreams that they're like, I don't need to travel in my waking hours, because the dreams I have at night is like, I wake up and I go, wow, that was incredible. I don't know where I went, but it was just so intense sometimes. It's so real. It's like, thank you for all the money I saved for not having to actually get on a plane and go somewhere, because I just dreamt it. It was just amazing, you know. So that's part of it as well. A rich and complex inner life, which can involve daydreaming, that as well. And finally, Rochka says highly sensitive is correct, yes. And Kathy relates to rain, nature and music, definitely. And finally, when you were a child, did your parents or teachers see you as sensitive or shy? And again, straight away I read that and I thought, yep, definitely, you know. And Erochka says, my beautiful dreams are my escape from reality. And I think for a lot of highly sensitive people, what you've said there, Erochka, is spot on, because reality becomes such a, and this is me using my words, but you'll find your own way of describing it, but reality can be so confronting, so disappointing, and so just constantly challenging. You know, it's like it's an energy drain. Hence, you know, the need to escape and go back into like a safe space. You know, go back into a safety zone so that you can regroup. You know, like in an army term or whatever. You know, sort of regroup and then go back into battle. Because for us, for highly sensitive people, it's a battle. You know, it's one of those things that when I think about how I've observed other people living their lives over the decades, and I've looked and I thought, how do you do it? How do you manage to just do the day-to-day and it doesn't get to you? You know, how do you manage to get through the days and charge through the days the way that you do and just seem to just, you know, handle it? I was like, for me, that would, you know, it would just not be possible. It would be such a challenge. And yet I've seen so many people over the years that seem to be able to do that. You know, whether or not, I mean, you know, I'm looking at it from my perspective, whether or not in these cases people really are actually achieving that, or you know, because our perceptions are our relative truths. So so I just want to read some things here, some interesting things. So I've already said that 15 to 20% of the population actually has this sensitivity. Ree actually makes, again, Ree beautifully said, and exactly how I operate too. You've said that your ability to function depends on downtime and withdrawing from external stimuli, people and activities. You know, there's so many strategies that we develop, and these strategies cross over the borders between social anxiety and high sensitivity, and the two are normally, you know, they're normally bedmates, I guess, if that's the right terminology, or the best mates. In other words, you will normally find that somebody with the traits of high sensitivity is also going to be somebody that's overwhelmed a lot of the time in social situations. So social anxiety is going to be a condition of high sensitivity. And I've discussed this before in different live streams, and I've written about it before, about my experiences, my challenges with social anxiety, and how that when I've talked about it, that people that have seen me in public, or people that have met me that have not aware that I am challenged by social anxiety, are actually dumbfounded, are actually amazed, and actually say, you seem so confident and so outgoing and so expressive. How could you possibly have social anxiety? And it's like, well, I could explain it. It's not what I want to go deeply into tonight, but just to say that in a basic sense, that for me, I think Ree summed it up. My ability to operate in social situations is, as she said there, is by balancing it with removing myself from the situation, usually afterwards, but also before. And it's also balanced by balanced by having coping mechanisms and escape strategies, which is what I use for social anxiety. So there's a lot of different environments that I won't put myself in because I know that I will feel that I'm possibly gonna be overwhelmed, and so I will not actually put myself in that environment. So I'll look for environments where I feel that I'm capable of handling them. That has improved over the years, and I'm going to mention some of the ways that I've been able to improve that. Shai says, thank you for talking about this. It's so common, yet all my friends I've tried to make understand about this don't quite understand. I get quite overwhelmed often as a result. I'm quite reserved. I feel found right now. I've always been this way. I like that. I feel found right now. That's beautiful. That should be in a poem. That is beautiful. What a line. It was hard for me to accept, but after getting married, I really understood how important it was, yes, to explain it to my partner. He understands my need to retreat every now and then. There's so many benefits of being a HSP though. Well, actually there is, and it actually ties in very strongly with veganism and our ability to relate to what is happening to the animals. And so this is one of the benefits of being a HSP, which I'm going to get to as well. Emily says, never actually heard the term HSP. Just thought of myself as a very shy person. This describes exactly how I feel. Well, Emily, yes. It's also, like I say, I resonated strongly with it when I discovered it in the 80s. And then it sort of fell a little bit in the back of my mind a bit because I discovered in 1990, I think it was, or the year, no, 2000. So I can remember the years. The 2000, I discovered that I had social anxiety, and I actually went and had tests. I did social anxiety tests with somebody in Brisbane who was a professional dealing with it, and I actually started doing CBT, cognitive behaviour therapy, for it at that stage. So the HSP component of it, the highly sensitive part of it, sort of fell away a bit. And for me, I was working more on the social anxiety side of it because that was the one that was producing so much depression and distress and triggers and overwhelm and just difficulty to cope with so many situations in life, that was the one that I focused a lot of attention on from that point in time, which was, what, 18 years ago. And, you know, still working on it. Way more than you would possibly even believe. But Anastasia says, I find I'm more emotionally sensitive because I'm grieving my mother's death. Oh, Anastasia, I'm sorry to hear that, and I completely understand. Sometimes I just feel numb and I don't care about anything. There are triggers that bring memories to my mind, and I end up recalling my times with mum. And that's the hardest thing that we will face. And it's, Anastasia, it's not something that we should try to face on our own, because really it's, you know, we get to the point where we can't. It's like, I'll use this analogy, it's like learning to play a piano. You go to the piano and you go, oh, geez, I don't know how to play this. I need a professional to show me how to play this. This is the same thing with experiencing overwhelm of grief, with one of our strongest or our strongest connection we've had. So this is why I highly recommend that we need strategies in a situation like that. I highly recommend professional advice, professional counseling. I also highly recommend non-addictive herbal antidepressants. Carver is a good strong one if it's too strong for you. St. John's wort. I'm taking one at the moment. It's called it's a brand called Fusion, anti-anxiety, anti-stress and anti-anxiety, which I find really good. So Anastasia, if you're not already doing those things, highly recommend, instead of trying to take on all the weight, the emotional weight yourself and trying to process it yourself, that if you're not already doing it, that you definitely need somebody to guide you through it. It's just, otherwise it's just putting too much weight on our shoulders. It's carrying the emotional weight of the world on our shoulders, and it cripples us. So highly recommend. Jess says CBT and DBT are amazing. DBT, I'm not sure what DBT is. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think I've done DBT. So okay, a couple of interesting thoughts what word was that? A couple of interesting things about HSPs is that biologists have found that highly sensitive condition in over 100 species. So this is not just restricted to us. Now, this is interesting in our understanding of animals, because they've actually found it in fruit flies, birds, fish, dogs, cats, horses, and primates. It reflects a certain type of survival strategy where we're observant before we act. And the brains of highly sensitive people actually work a little differently to others. That goes into a more complex area, so which is beyond the scope of tonight's live stream, but you could research that. Ree says, sorry, Harry, I think I deleted my comment. I'm not used to commenting, but yes, my ability to function depends on my ability to have adequate downtime, withdraw from people and from external stimuli. Yeah, your comment is still there, I think. No? Yeah, no, it's still there, Ree. So Sarah says, talk therapy changed my life so much so I became a counsellor. Excellent, Sarah. That is fantastic, because you're doing a wonderful service helping others. So that just, yeah, respect. I had clinical depression and anxiety. Just tuned in. Excellent, Sarah. That's not excellent that you had clinical depression and anxiety. Excellent that you were able to take that and become empowering and pay it forward as a gift to others. Beautiful. Now, Jess says DBT is dialectical behavior therapy. A new one for me. I haven't heard of that one, Jess. I'll need to research that. Erochka says St. John's wort got me out of depression 10 years ago. St. John's wort is interesting because when I've read about it, I mean, it's something I've used for years on and off, that apart from it being non-addictive, it is actually shown to be more effective than doctor prescribed what do they call them, SSIDs or something, you know, the addictive heavy duty antidepressants. So yeah, but I got to say, personally, I'm loving the, oh, we got a little bit fuzzy there again. There's autofocus on this camera, I tell you, it's dodgy as. It doesn't like the, actually, hang on. Sorry, bring the lighting up. Yeah, that's better. That fixed it, I think. Yeah, okay. Right, so back to where we're at. So a couple of other things with HSPs, that you're more aware than others of subtleties. And that, again, being aware of subtleties can actually become an overwhelm. This is because your brain processes information and reflects on it more deeply. So, okay, so even if you wear glasses, you see more than others by noticing more. You're more easily overwhelmed. Well, we've discussed this a little bit. If you notice everything, you're naturally going to be overstimulated when things are too intense, when they're complex, when they're chaotic. And it is not, and being HSP is not new, but it is misunderstood because they prefer, because as a highly sensitive person, we prefer to look before we enter a new situation. In other words, we tend to, if you go into a new environment for the first time, this is something that I do a lot. SSRIs, thank you, Ree. We're relating, sorry, what I was saying earlier about addictive prescription antidepressants. They're called SSRIs, thank you. And man, I can never, well, I shouldn't say I can never recommend them, but yeah, if you want to numb yourself, that's the way to do it. Yes, so before entering, back to what I was saying, before entering a new environment, I find new environments can be quite overwhelming. And I will be I'll be very quiet the first time I go to a new environment until I feel that it's safe. And then I'll start to open up. So sometimes that mightn't happen the first time I'm in the new environment, you know, where I go to a new location, a new restaurant, a new hall, or a new, I don't know, somewhere. Usually it doesn't happen to me if I'm outside. Outside, I'm usually pretty good. So outside environments, I feel safer. But inside, you know, within containment, within walls, and that can be quite overwhelming. So new environments can take a little while for me to, you know, get used to and to feel that they're a safe environment. So because of that, I might go somewhere and somebody might think If they don't know me very well, they might think that I'm shy, and that's what often comes up. They think, oh, he's shy, he's not saying much, he's keeping to himself. When in fact it's a case of starting to feel safe in that environment. And you know, it might take a while. It might take, depending on how long you're there, it might take 15 minutes, it might take an hour or whatever. And then for me, then I'll start to come out of my shell and be more, and start to smile and laugh and joke and you know, sort of really, you know, I can go from one extreme to the other and almost be the life of the party. It's interesting that shyness is learned. It's not innate. So that's an interesting thing, because when we're talking about shyness, but I don't want to get off the topic there. I think that's getting off the topic. But here's another interesting statistic. 30% of HSPs are extroverts. Now, I'll often refer to myself as an introverted extrovert, or conversely, an extroverted introvert. And I'm never quite sure which one is the better descriptive, but this helps explain how people will see me as super expressive, outgoing, confident, a leader, all of these things, because that is a component, as hard as it is to believe. But 30% of HSPs are extroverts, although the trait is often mislabeled as introversion. It has also been called inhibitiveness, fearfulness, or neuroticism. And neuroticism is another interesting thing, because it's easy for a HSP to be considered neurotic by other people without understanding their high level of sensitivity. And also it is, one other point, it's valued differently in different cultures. So in cultures where being highly sensitive is not valued, then HSPs tend to have a lower self-esteem, and that's a very crushing reality, because a HSP is told, don't be so sensitive, because it's not valued. Anastasia says, I'm usually shy and like to observe everything until I feel okay to talk to people and relax. Some people feel it natural and can bounce into things. Well described, Anastasia. And Shy says, yes, who would guess Harry is HSP with your extrovert trait? Same with me. Totally can exist together. If only everyone had a window into our inner world. Well, yes, it's really strange how what we appear to be may not be exactly what we are. So let me just see. So for me personally, I'd have to say, oh, look, there's Uma in the background. She's awake. Hello, beautiful. Hello, sweet. Do you want to come up here? Do you want to come up? Do you want to come up and say hello? Yes, you're so beautiful, aren't you? She's just out of camera range now. You're so beautiful. She's wondering what I'm doing. For most of my existence, my experience has been that up until probably the last, say, couple of years, that I haven't had great self-worth. I don't like using the term self-esteem without going too deep down that rabbit hole, is because it's a misused terminology, and it's often misused because people talk about self-esteem, and it's a false ego self-esteem. It's not a real self-esteem. Real self-esteem comes from our soul. Real self-esteem is our actual soul level self-worth, that we are a child of the universe. We are perfectly and unconditionally loved at all times. So that is our real, self-worth. That's our real self-esteem. So for most of my life, I've personally had issues with my self-worth, and I've put myself to a blaming victim consciousness. Now, when you do that, you don't grow. You just keep throwing the blame away to someone else, and you don't move forward. So you do actually create the victim status yourself, and you keep yourself in that space, if that makes sense. So, and some of us become, let's just say, we become really good masters of this, like really, really good masters of this. When we step outside of it, we see how good we have become at being victims, becoming our own victims. And it's very sad, because it's disempowering, and it's minimizing, it's just reducing us down to something way below what we're capable of. I have a long way to go personally on that, but I am aware of it. So some of the things that have helped me to change is by understanding that it is me that holds the power as to whether I am, where I am in my life and how I think about myself, whether I think I'm happy or sad. It's me that holds that power. For years, I thought it was other people that held that power over me, and I gave that power away to them. And, you know, I was like, it's taken decades really to embrace that understanding, because I first heard about it, I think, when I was about 19 or 20. The understanding that nobody else can make us happy or sad, that it is entirely up to us, because nobody else has the power to do it. And, you know, it's taken me decades to understand and see that through so much life experience and through so much lessons and pain. So Sarah says, we are hardest on ourselves. Self-sabotaging, exactly. Negative self-talk, exactly. We would never say to another what we say to ourselves, exactly. And if I think back to some of the things I used to say to myself, I mean, I catch myself now and have done for years and just don't say those things, but I would beat myself up verbally, you know, and it's like, that's how I, you know, how I felt about myself. And my life reflected that, because I attracted a certain sort of person into my life that reflected where I was at. This is why we have, going slightly off tangent, this is why you actually see situations where people end up in violent relationships. And I have spoken about this before. I had a domestic violent relationship for 4 years. It's, you know, an unusual situation, maybe a bit more common now, but this is back in the 90s. It was an unusual situation for the male to be the victim. One of the big things that happened for me was this is what I was talking about before the glitch happened. One of the big things for me was understanding that nobody else has power over us other than the power that we give away to them. But it did take me decades to get to that point of really sort of fully embracing that. And the thing that has helped me really in the last couple of years is a lot of the stuff that I've watched and read from how's that? I can't think of a name now, and I talk about her all the time. Byron Katie, right? A lot of Katie stuff, and basically I've worded it in different ways here, but this is one of the things that's really helped for me to come to terms with my self-worth, is the understanding that what people say about me is not about me at all. It's just a projection of where they're at. It's a projection of their relative truth. It's a reflection of them. So the saying is, what you say about me is a reflection of you. And so, you know, you can, I've got it written down here, is what someone thinks of me is their self-projection. I choose whether to own that self-projection of theirs, which is their story or their relative truth. I choose whether to own it, right? And Sari says, part 2, missed the first. That's all right, Sari. The first part is on my timeline. So that I found very, very empowering when I started coming across that understanding with Byron Katie's work. And so I've written that a few different ways, posted little memes about that. But basically, you know, what you think about me is a reflection of you. So it's not about me. So that really allowed me, understanding that really allowed me to bring the power back into, for me, into my self-worth, and also has helped me greatly to understand other people and the challenges that other people are going through, because it's like suddenly I had this extra power. When I embraced this understanding, it was like I had this extra power, this extra insight, because suddenly I was able to see inside the heads and the hearts of other people so much clearer than I could before, because I understood that what they were saying was telling me about them, not about me. So when they criticize me, it's not about me. It's their hurt, their anger, their whatever coming out. So, and I would look at this and I think, this is amazing. This person is actually really giving away some of their deepest secrets as they're criticizing me. They're telling me how much they are hurting inside. And I am now seeing it, because I've stepped away from feeling as if it was about me. I've stopped feeling guilty that it was something that I did wrong, that it was my fault. That once I stepped away from that and saw that people are actually describing where they're at, I thought, wow, this is powerful. When you see the world this way, I can only explain, you know, you have to see it, you have to experience it to know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure some of you probably have, maybe a lot of you have. Kathy asked, do you think people with HSP are more likely to be in abusive relationships? Yes, definitely, I do. Sadly, I think people, highly sensitive people, get used more. And this is tying in with what I'm saying here now. The reason why this happens is because we do have people that are predatory. We have predatory personality types that are what I call street smart and very able to pick up on people that are sensitive. And they will use that to their advantage. And unfortunately, that will not be in the best interest of the sensitive person. So the sensitive person needs to be aware of this. There's an old expression of, you can, an incorrect old expression of, you can, I think it's something along the wording of, you can love too much. And I take issue with this, because you can never love too much, but you can love too naively. So we have to love with awareness. So we have to be wise. We have to realize what people are capable of. We have to realize when we walk into a tiger's cage, the tiger may decide to be affectionate that day and, you know, cuddly or whatever, or it may decide it wants to kill us. We have to be aware of that. That's the world we live in. And as HSPs, we're probably more aware of it than other people. Gay says, I think for the animal liberationists like us who are obviously sensitive, which is why we are doing so much for them in the first place, the issues are, one, we need face-to-face support from other like-minded, not unreliable, flaky people, which exist, unfortunately, in the animal liberation community. There's a load of them. There's loads of them, compassionate humans. Two, we need to be more united, to compress and utilize all these ideas and energy in order to free the helpless, miserable millions of animals daily. Well said. Three, we also, because of this type of lifestyle, being so aware of the agony of animals experience every second of their lives, thanks to non-vegans, need a lot of self-care so we don't become depressed, socially isolated and suicidal. Hear, hear. We are highly sensitive and empathic, but really we are highly evolved beings, in other words, true humans. Well said. Thank you, Gay. I agree with all of that. And any suggestions of how to achieve that, I'm also very open to hearing. Kathleen says, so true, spot on. Vinaya, hi Vinaya, hi Venice. Anastasia says, that is life-changing. I think, Anastasia, you were commenting on what I'm saying about how to see other people by understanding that what they're talking about is not about us, it's about them. It is life-changing. It's really fascinating. I could go on probably for hours about it. In just the last probably 2 years, what I've seen, I've just observed in people, and it's been amazingly empowering to see that I am just getting I'm getting a glimpse of where they're at. And for some people, what I'm seeing is really, really beautiful, because they're in a really great spot, because of the way that what they're talking about, what they're projecting. And for other people, they're projecting a lot of pain. For some people, they project their pain in a very, very violent, disturbing, aggressive way, and it has consequences which are not particularly nice. It does end up with victims of that pain, and it's very, very sad. But there's also another very liberating thing that happens, and I'm going to get to some of the other comments in a minute. The other liberating thing that happens, and this is something I've mentioned quite a few times, is separating the person from their actions. And this is vitally important, and is absolutely the only way that we can forgive people is, and forgiveness, by the way, is absolutely totally vital, not for them, but for us, because we cannot move forward without forgiveness. Otherwise we hang on to a negative energy that kills us. It destroys us emotionally. It destroys us on a spiritual level. We can't connect spiritually. It affects our health on a physical level. So the true test of the ability to forgive is to forgive someone that we feel is not worthy of forgiveness. And so many times people have said to me, well, no, I can't forgive them. They did this. What they did is unacceptable. And I go, yes, I'm not saying condone what they did. What I'm saying is separate the person from the actions and understand that that person is hopelessly lost. Otherwise, they would not have done what they did. They are at their core a perfect spirit soul who has gone off in a direction, a hopelessly lost direction, that has created a life that they are living, which is just, it's a terrible existence for them. They are in an immense state of turmoil and pain. If we can see this, we will have an overwhelming compassion and empathy for that person, and we will wish the best for them. And we will not want to condemn them. We will want to help them. This is compassion. This is the only way that we can grow. We can't go and point fingers and say, you are an absolute bastard. What you did is unacceptable. How dare you rape me or that person? How dare you murder that person? This does not create peace in the world. So peace in the world comes from understanding that the person is perfectly and unconditionally loved by the universe. And so if the universe is loving every one of us unconditionally, who are we to judge somebody else and say, you're not worthy of my love? That's not how it works. How it works is we separate the person from their actions. We say, your actions are unacceptable. I do not condone them, but I understand why you did them. Because you went and chased a lie, you chased a shadow, you are very hurt, you are, and your actions are a reflection of that hurt. Your anger is a reflection of that hurt. Your violence, your sadness, your wanting to commit suicide, whatever your actions are a reflection that you are hopelessly disconnected from your spiritual foundation. When you see this in another person, you shift completely and you find an inner peace in yourself, and you become like, I was going to say, you become like a Mother Teresa. You have a compassion for others because you want everyone to feel the peace that you are now feeling inside yourself. So, and we stop judging other people then, and we stop saying, no, they shouldn't have done that. That was wrong. Because there are three types of business in the world. And this is so well said by Byron Katie. There is our business. There is your business, or I'll put it this way, there's our business, there is their business, and there is God's business. And the only thing that I have the power to control is my business. I might disapprove of everything you're doing, but I can't do anything about it. I can try and example to you a better way, but my power is in shifting where I'm at. So when I shift where I'm at, and when I'm at peace, I see you. And I see you clearly, and I feel what you're going through. And as a HSP, I feel it strongly. And I want you to be happy the same way that the universe wants all of us to be happy. So I want to get to some, I went on a bit of a ramble then. Gay says, people who are defensive about consuming animals are this way because in their subconscious, they know we, the animal liberationists, are right, that this world cannot be peaceful, non-violent until animals are free of exploitation and the earth is not being destroyed. Exactly, Gay. And the fact that they are, the fact that they know in their subconscious that what they're doing is the wrong thing means they're not at peace. So this is where we need to have a compassion for their lack of peace. This is why I'm really, really, really inspired by a lot of the way that James Aspey approaches animal rights and the way that he approaches speaking to people, because he understands this. He gets where people are at, and he doesn't judge them, and it's really, that's empowering. Anastasia says that is life-changing again. Sarah says, yes, we must try to never let others' behavior affect our vibes. It's their projection of truth only. Exactly. And you're right, they are revealing their own inner demons. Yeah, I can't say it enough, Sarah. You look for it, and what you'll see is astounding. You will actually see people, I'd almost say, you will see how naked people are. You will actually really, when you get away from worrying that people are judging us and worrying that we are in the wrong and all the rest, when we actually see that people are really telling us deep truths about themselves, you will actually see how really emotionally naked they are. It is life-changing. It's very empowering. Michelle says, sensitive souls need to learn to have really switched on radars when interacting with others. It's taking me time to get my radar right and to sense others who aren't so good for my world. Yes, and it's very important, Michelle, to have that awareness. It's very important to set boundaries, to be assertive, not aggressive, and not submissive. It's very important to be the way to be assertive is to understand our true self-worth, and our true self-worth is at our core, we are a perfect spirit soul, unconditionally loved by the universe. When we embrace that, we then we find, you know, that's our core, and we go out from there. Kathleen says, I feel that you're also growing spiritually, Harry. Thank you, Kathleen. Sarah says, spot on, Harry. In counseling, we say you can dislike a behavior, but avoid equating it with the person themselves, their spirit, if you will. It changes our perceptions. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that's exactly the point. So a couple of other things I wanted to mention here, because this actually has gone on quite a while. So we've mentioned people's actions are a reflection of where they're at, not an indication of where we're at. And someone's anger towards us is their pain projected. So I've discussed that. Now, the other one I posted a while back was no one can drive your car unless you give them the keys, which again, I've discussed. And we choose how others treat us by the behavior we accept. And we choose that by where we're at with our acceptance of self-worth. So our acceptance of self-worth is not a self-esteem thing, thinking that, you know, we are wonderful and powerful and all these superficial material things. Our self-worth is at its core, it's the soul, it's our soul, it's the perfect spirit soul we are that has become lost, and it's understanding that that is our true self-worth, and that the universe sees that and accepts us no matter what we do, unconditionally loves us no matter what we do. So if the universe does that, then why aren't we doing that for others? See, so because the universe is a lot smarter than us. So Gay says, self-care for us compassionate, empathic animal lovers is meditation. Yep, thank you. Walking barefoot with your furry buddies, and not so furry, well said. To absorb the earth's vibrations, yes. Being in the sun, walking, sitting, gardening, kayaking, dancing, singing, writing, performing theatre. In brackets there, John Yunker is a vegan playwright. Just discovered him, and you can get his plays by writing him. They're free. Interesting. I've got to look that one up. For the animals and the planet, running, staying away from negative, unloving, unsupportive people, creating podcasts or vlogs or Facebook live streams like this. Yes, funny about that. For the animals and the planet, running your own vegan meetup, again, something I love doing. Starting your own animal sanctuary, volunteering in animal sanctuary, surrounding yourself with creativity, love and joy. And off camera, there's an Uma cat looking at me with love and joy. Yes, and having an Uma cat, we should put that there. Oh, she can't come up here, can she? Oh, here she goes. Here she goes. She's off camera. Oh, no, hang on. Here we go. Here we go. Do you want to come on camera? Oh, no, she's gone. She's gone. She's too quick. Okay, so a couple of other things I read today just relating to HSPs. And you might find this really interesting. HSPs really genuinely care, and they are good at it. HSPs tend to be highly creative. HSPs are incredibly conscientious and take great pride in their tasks. We feel more deeply. We are very sensitive to animals. Point number 5, we're very sensitive to animals. What a surprise. We have passion like no other, which is, again, a lot of us are going to relate to this. We are a genuine bunch. We have a hard time faking interest, in other words, in people and tasks and activities. We make life, I could Uma off camera. We make life about finding meaning. So we're driven by an internal search for meaning, which is something I can deeply relate to all my life. So if something doesn't feel meaningful, we can't just do it anyway, sort of thing. We are great at having deep, meaningful conversations. I love deep, meaningful conversations. We are amazing problem solvers, something, again, that a lot of us are going to relate to. So once again, on part 1 of this live stream, I asked some questions about, you know, do you consider yourself to be a HSP? The questions that are coming up here now might be slightly different, but just for the benefit of those that may have missed it, do loud environments make you want to run and hide? Do you get really irritable when you're hungry? Who doesn't? I don't think you have to be a HSP for that. Does attending a musical or visiting an art gallery or reading poetry stir up your emotions? Does having several tasks to complete actually make you less productive when you become overwhelmed and stressed? Do you consider yourself abnormally empathetic? Does it take you longer than most to make decisions? I mean, I'm just ticking all of these, you know, I'm just, yep. Do you hate open office plans and prefer to work in private, calm environments? I should just nod my head with all of these. Do you despise violent movies? Do you easily sense when other people are feeling overwhelmed? Does presenting to an audience often go poorly because you loathe working in front of watchful eyes? Is all this sounding familiar, folks? And after a long day, do you need solo quiet time to recharge? So if you answered yes, more times than not, you're probably a HSP. So let's just finish up with what, as a HSP, we need to be happy. So this is a good way to go out on. So we need a slower, simpler pace of life. I'll actually put a link to this so I don't go through the whole explanation of it, because it's point form, and I think there is, let me just check for you, 14 points. Okay, so I'll just go through the headings there. So we need a slower, simpler pace of life. We need time to wind down after a busy day. We need a calm, quiet space to retreat to. We need permission to get emotional and have a good cry. And if you've been brought up in a family environment where you didn't feel, this is important the way I word this, you didn't feel you had that permission. It's not that you necessarily didn't have the permission, it's that you didn't feel you had the permission. If you were brought up in a family environment where you didn't feel you had the permission to be emotional and have a good cry, you would have found that extremely restrictive and extremely hard, and I speak from personal experience. I'll get to the comments in a minute because I just want to get through these points of what helps us as HSPs. A HSP needs time to adjust to change. HSP needs close, meaningful relationships. In fact, I love that it says we crave deep connections with others. I couldn't emphasize that enough, and I know you feel the same. You know, I just could not emphasize how important that is. That would be for me, I think, number one. That would be pinnacle. I think I'd put that. Actually, I put close, meaningful relationships and time to myself to recharge and escape from the world. I think I put those two right at the top for me personally. We need a gentle, healthy way of managing conflict. Yes. And I respect that deeply, a gentle, healthy way of managing conflict. We need a good night's sleep. Definitely, definitely. Very hard to face the world without it. We need, there's a couple more to go, healthy meals, spaced regularly throughout the day. And I love that they mention that here, because that is really important. We need no caffeine and no alcohol, which is, surprise, surprise, HSPs are more sensitive to the effects of caffeine and alcohol. What a surprise, something I discovered early on in life. We need an outlet for our creativity. For me, this creativity outlet from since primary school has been writing poetry. It's also now doing live streams. That is actually a creative outlet. Doing this now is a creative outlet. It's an expression. We need a strong sense of purpose. Spot on. We need loved ones who understand and respect our sensitive nature. Oh, it's so important. So important. People that actually get us. How important is that? I'm going to get to your comments in a minute too, guys. And finally, we need natural surroundings and beauty. It is no coincidence or surprise that I have lived on an acreage property for over 30 years. I think close to 35 years now I've lived in this immediate area on acreage. This is the third acreage property that I've lived in. I bought this place about 16 years ago now. you know, it's quiet, it's peaceful. There's animals in the bush. It's up off the street. It's private. You know, I have family members close by here. It's, you know, it's like a retreat sort of situation, and it's a security, and it's a, you know, so natural surroundings and beauty, definitely. You know, to be able to retreat to that is fantastic. I'm going to actually put that, what I've just read, that link I'm going to put in this live stream, so you can read the expansions of those 14 points that help us as HSPs. So I want to sort of wind up, start winding up now. So Sari, so I'll read some comments. Sari says, can't stand live environments. Oh yeah, so sound sensitive. Festivals, concerts, movies, even restaurants. Yes, feeling people big time, and yes, lots of quiet time needed. Yes to all, Sari says. Yeah, sorry, I've never, like, as a teenager, I couldn't understand my teenage friends. They wanted to go out to nightclubs, and it was like, okay, I can't relate to the fact that there's a lot of people. Can't relate to the fact that there's a lot of noise. I can't relate to the environment at all, that it's closed in. I can't relate to the fact that there's alcohol there. Probably in those days, smoking as well. None of it. Couldn't relate to it. They're like, oh, can't wait to go out. I'm like, I can't wait to escape. I tried it a couple of times, and I still have a very strong memory of going to a place in Surfers Paradise, and I think I was 18, 19. It was called Bombay Rock. Who remembers Bombay Rock? I think I went once. And being a HSP, I went along. I went in there. It was loud music, lots of people. And I actually remember seeing how lost some of these people looked in their eyes. I still remember it to this day. So that's how strong a, you know, just a thing that was for me, was to see into their eyes and see how lost they looked. And I felt for them. I thought, this environment you're in is just so destructive to you, you know, and it's, so yes. Carl says, I've been feeling an anger towards people, say, mocking a baboon being experimented on. I rescued a roo yesterday with a broken leg. Wow. And police shot it 3 times afterwards, saying they were a pest. Oh my God. My niece's friend who lived with my niece in Cairns was animal rights and raped, and oh yes, and raped and murdered 2 weeks ago. I know who that was, and I'm full of anger. Wow. Wow. This is a lot just to read this. Wow. I think, what right do people have to kill animals in my world and send us into sixth mass extinction? Exactly. I argued with 5 households in my street yesterday, walking my dog. I have anger. I feel happy though when I join Legion, DX or Anonymous for Voiceless, as around people with the same beliefs. Carl, I completely empathize and understand your anger and your need to be feeling it. And I just want to say, as you will, I'm sure you will know, that ultimately the process will be that you will, for your own health, that you will need to find a way to move through it. I don't want to use the word need. When the time is right, you will move through it. I pray that you find the process that works for you to move through it. And as I was saying earlier, that, you know, we to Anastasia, that we need in these situations, so that we are at peace in ourselves, so that we can find our own happiness, because we can't be effective unless we're at peace in ourselves. We do need to call upon professional help and to guide us in the right direction. So maybe you've already done that, but it's definitely something I highly recommend. Sari says, I hate coffee. Luckily, so do I. I can't stand coffee. I've never understood coffee. I don't understand coffee. Somebody explain to me coffee. It smells terrible. I tried it once. I drank half a cup and went, this is hideous. And people drink this. Apparently people drink 5 cups a day is the world average. Oh, I can't, no, does not compute. You know, I can tolerate the smell of coffee now. Like, it's not like, I don't find it revolting or anything. I can tolerate it. I've gotten used to it in social situations. But no, sorry, it doesn't work. And Sari says, wish for a quiet place one day, so need it. Yes. And Sari, I'm sorry to hear you had a panic attack a month ago in the movies. I'm sorry to hear that. I completely understand. I'm sorry. I hope you're doing something to help with that. And you've also said kids are super sound sensitive. I still feel like a kid. Kids are super sound sensitive. Actually, have you noticed that animals are? That's something. My cat is so super sound sensitive, and that's a common thing with animals. Really affected by storms and just somebody dropping something on the floor, just loud noises and that, you know. Sari says, love is the key. It's hard in this crazy world, but love is everything. Thank you, Sari. I think that's, yes, I think that's a good thing to go out on. And you've just said that you were on a date, so you're not going to do any more movie dates. I think I'm just saying that you had how did you describe it? A panic attack at the movies, and you're on a date. One of the things is looking, you know, strategies to help us, and that's why I'm going to post this 14 points of how to help highly sensitive people. 14 things highly sensitive people absolutely need to be happy. So I'm going to post that because we need strategies. We're very sensitive, and you know that sensitivity means that we are actually very effective vegans, because we actually feel what the animals are going through, and we don't want it to happen. So it means but we are also the other side of the coin, of course, is that we do get great anger from it, and we get greatly depressed by it. We need the self-care, as somebody mentioned earlier, and I've gone out of focus there. I hate it when that happens. We need, let's see if that works. Yep, we need the self-care, and otherwise we're just not effective. So look after yourself, guys. Kathleen says, agree about coffee, never been able to drink it. So blessed. Well done, Harry. Great topic. So many people are hurting today, and they are hurting. And it doesn't help us if we point a finger, because when we point a finger, 3 fingers point back at us. The way that we help others is by understanding what they're going through, by having an empathy and a compassion for them, by listening, really listening to what they're saying when they talk to us, by actually hearing what they're saying underneath what they're saying. Because when you develop that ability, it actually becomes really obvious and really clear, and you will see how many people are struggling. And it's really, it's actually quite scary how many people are struggling when people say, yeah, I'm fine, or the other one that people say, yeah, I'm not too bad, not too bad. Wow, let's see, we've got the word not, which is negative, bad. 2 out of the 3 words there were bad, not too bad. Yeah, that's why I say, when people say to me, how are you? I say, I'm highly salubrious. They go, what? You'll have to look that one up if you don't know it. And Sari said, I'm trying to wind this up, but I do want to read your comment. Sari says, with your panic attack at the movies, that the person you're with understood he was spiritual, luckily, and learned to overcome it. Fantastic. Having somebody that understands it has also been, for me personally, just the most fantastic ability to take another step forward is just having that support. So if you can have that support, if you can find that support, excellent. And Sari says, I started Wim Hof breathing. It's really helping stop my anxiety for hours. Fantastic. Wim Hof breathing, fantastic. I personally don't go great with cold things. So, but diaphragmic breathing, something that I've been doing for decades, which I find very effective. And of course, yoga and meditation. Yes. And Kathy says, I'll be finding my quiet place tomorrow at work during Melbourne Cup. I bet you will, Kathy. I can, yeah. And again, Sari says, Melbourne Cup, I try accepting everything, but that angers me too. Yeah. Remember, Sari, and anyone else in relation to something like that, it's okay to be initially angry, but to hang on to it is hanging on to, it's our energy, it's our decision to be angry. Again, you know, it's only us. Nobody else is making us angry. Nobody else is making us sad. Nobody else is making us happy in any situation. It's up to us how we react. So the challenge is to rise above it and to see beyond the surface level of what is happening, and to see, say, in a situation like the Melbourne Cup, for instance, to see that we are looking at a whole heap of people that are conditioned, you know, that are the people that are supporting the Melbourne Cup, that are conditioned, that are living in a cultural society situation where they have been brought up to believe that certain things are normal, that they know no better. So what can we do? We can educate. If we judge them, they shut down. So we can educate. We can say, are you aware that what you're supporting is killing living beings that are beautiful souls that do not want to be involved in this horse racing? Are you involved? Are you involved? Are you aware of this? And maybe somebody, you know, people are very deeply entrenched, but maybe this will just be enough to wake them up a little bit, you know. So that's where we have to come from a point of compassion, which comes from love. So and love is the ultimate form of respect for another living being. And we wish ourselves to be loved and respected and treated with compassion always. So how can we ask that for ourselves if we do not give that as a gift to others? So I'll go out with a final comment. Many are struggling. We need to go inside first and foremost. Meditation, breath work, mindfulness practices, and yoga. Yes, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone that has watched tonight. Sorry about this being in 2 parts, but the camera that I was using stopped working and I swapped to another camera. So I will put this second part connected to the first part. Thank you, everyone, for watching and commenting. I really appreciate it. It actually helped me a lot to express this, because it meant a lot to me to express it and to know that a lot of you resonate with it as well. And please keep commenting on it. And I'll put this up as a YouTube live stream as well too. So thank you very much. And I hope each of us finds the happiness that the universe wishes for us. So remember to live vegan and save lives, guys. And I'll speak with you soon. I'll probably do another, I've got a couple of other topics. I'll probably do another one tomorrow night on a completely different topic. So good night.